chosen one, this message didn't find you by accident. God led you here for a reason. You've been carrying something heavy, the weight of delay, disappointment, fatigue, even isolation. You've prayed for a sign. You've asked, Lord, can I be released? But heaven hasn't said stop, because the mission isn't finished yet. You weren't called just to survive. You were chosen to complete something eternal. And though your flesh is tired and your soul feels like it's bleeding, your spirit knows this can't be the end. God didn't bring you this far to leave you in the middle. He's still writing. You're still breathing, which means you're still needed. Now, let's break this down so you can understand why quitting is not an option. Before we dive deep into this word, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, because this message isn't just content, it's a divine instruction. It's a spiritual wake-up call from heaven itself for the chosen ones who are on assignment. If your spirit feels this, type 77 in the comments right now. That number isn't random. It's a prophetic code, a signal to the Most High and the divine realm that you are still on mission, still committed, and still moving, even when it's hard. Not everyone will make it to the end of this message, because not everyone was built to finish. But those who stay will gain clarity, feel confirmation, and receive the strength to keep walking when quitting feels easier. This isn't something you listen to once. It's a living word, a spiritual charge, and with every replay, new revelation will rise up. Listen again when you're tired. Replay it when you feel like walking away. Each time, you'll hear something your soul needed to remember, because the mission isn't finished yet. Let's get into it. Chapter 1. God called you because you wouldn't quit. You weren't chosen because you had it all figured out. You weren't chosen because you were always the smartest, the most polished, or the loudest in the room. You were chosen because you carried something within you that couldn't be taught, an unbreakable spirit. Even when life tried to crush you, you didn't stop. Even when betrayal tried to silence you, you kept speaking life. Even when storms came back to back, you kept building with what little you had left. You were the one who stood up after heartbreak, the one who prayed through confusion, the one who believed when logic said, give up. That's why heaven marked you. That's why the enemy fears you. Because no matter how hard it got, you kept saying, yes. Let's be honest, it would have been easier to quit, to go back to a normal life, to blend in, to play it safe. But something in you wouldn't let go. Something in your spirit kept whispering. There's more. There's purpose in this pain. There's meaning behind this mission. Even when your heart was tired and your vision was blurred by tears, you still said, God, use me. God, strengthen me. God, don't let me waste this season. You need to understand this. Your perseverance wasn't just personal. It was prophetic. There were generational battles tied to your endurance. There were bloodline curses that needed someone strong enough to break them. And you were the one who said, it ends with me. Every time you showed up, heaven recorded it. Every time you prayed when nobody saw you, angels moved on your behalf. Every time you chose to forgive, to stay kind, to keep believing, the Spirit of God testified, this one is mine. You didn't realize it, but the fire you went through was your refining. The silence you endured was your stretching. The isolation was your activation. Others saw the wilderness and turned back. But you walked through it with nothing but a word from God. And now He's about to reward your obedience in a way that eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. You've cried, God, why won't you release me? And He's answered, because you're the one I trust to finish what others only dreamed of starting. You're not just anointed to begin things, you're anointed to complete them. You carry the finisher's oil. You have the mantle of endurance. You have the heart of one who knows how to carry promise, not just receive it. So yes, it's been heavy. Yes, it's been long. Yes, it's been lonely. But this is why you were chosen. Not for comfort, not for applause, but for completion. Heaven chose you to finish the unfinished, to rebuild what was torn down, to resurrect what was left for dead. And because you didn't quit, now the mission won't either. Because you stayed faithful, now the flow of favor will be unstoppable. Because you obeyed when it didn't make sense, now everything is about to align. You weren't just chosen, you were entrusted. And the mission isn't finished, because the chosen one is still standing. That's you. Chapter 2. The opposition is proof you're close to breakthrough. Chosen one, let this settle in your spirit. You're not being attacked because you're weak. You're being attacked because you're winning. You're not in warfare because you're lost. You're in warfare because you're dangerously close to walking into everything God promised you. Hell doesn't send pressure to those who pose no threat. The enemy doesn't go after those who are sitting still. He only targets what carries weight, destiny, and generational shift. So if you've been feeling the heat lately, the spiritual heaviness, the sudden setbacks, the strange silence, understand this. You're near a threshold. You're on the edge of the breakthrough you've cried for. The door you've been praying about is right in front of you, and the enemy knows it. He senses the release. He smells the oil. He hears the sound of heaven moving on your behalf. And because he knows he can't stop it, his last strategy is to shake you before it manifests. But don't be fooled. The pressure isn't punishment, it's proof. Proof that your assignment is active. Proof that the mission is moving. Proof that the anointing on your life is stirring realms that others can't even see. Every delay, every betrayal, every misunderstanding, every moment that made you question your calling, it's all been part of a calculated attack to make you abort what's almost ready to be birthed. Let's be real. You've felt the weight. You've questioned, God, why is it so hard right now? You've wondered if you missed something, if you took a wrong turn, if you need to start over. But no, you're not off course. You're actually more aligned than ever. And that's exactly why it's been intense. Don't confuse resistance with rejection. You're not being denied. You're being refined. You're not being ignored. You're being elevated through endurance. This is the moment when many give up. Right before the shift. Right before the door opens. Right before the favor flows. But you're different. You were built for pressure. You were trained in the fire. You know how to stand still and trust God when everything around you is trying to move you off center. The silence is not a sign to stop. It's a test of your sensitivity. Can you still trust God when He's quiet? Can you still move in faith when you feel nothing? Can you still push when the winds are blowing in the opposite direction? You must, because the greatest spiritual attacks happen at the gate of your next level, and the gate is right in front of you. That's why the enemy is whispering lies. That's why people around you are acting strange. That's why opportunities are stalling, not because they're dead, but because the timing is divine. God is preparing the environment. He's aligning the right people. He's testing your persistence, not because He doubts you, but because He's about to trust you with more than you've ever carried. So hold your ground. Worship anyway. Speak the word anyway. Show up anyway. Because the fight is always fiercest before the blessing is released. You're almost there. And when you cross this line, things will never go back to what they were. Because you're not just entering a new level, you're entering a new identity. This isn't just your next season. This is your breakthrough becoming visible. And the opposition was the final confirmation you needed to know. You are chosen, you are close, and you cannot quit. Chapter 3. You're building something bigger than you. Chosen one. This isn't just about your comfort. This isn't just about your healing, your breakthrough, or your financial increase. This is about what's coming after you. What you're building right now, in silence, in tears, in faith, will outlive you. God chose you to be a breaker, a cycle breaker, a curse breaker, a system shifter, a bloodline redeemer. This isn't a seasonal assignment, it's a generational mantle. That's why it feels weighty. That's why the warfare is intense. That's why you often feel isolated, misunderstood, and stretched beyond your limits. You've been marked by God to do something your lineage has never seen before. Something that heaven approved and hell fears. You weren't chosen just to survive. You were chosen to build new patterns, to build new mindsets, to build new possibilities, to show the generations after you that freedom isn't just a theory. It's a divine inheritance. That depression that tried to stay in your bloodline, that poverty mindset, that addiction, that generational silence where people didn't talk, didn't heal, didn't evolve, it ends with you. That's why you can't afford to quit. That's why you feel such pressure, because you're standing in the middle of what was and what will be. And the bridge between both is your obedience. You may not see the full fruit now. You may be building in what looks like lack. You may feel like no one notices the sacrifices. But every prayer you whisper, every temptation you resist, every step of faith you take, it's laying spiritual bricks that your children, your community, and even strangers will walk across someday. They may not know your name, but they'll feel your obedience. They'll walk in freedom they didn't earn because you paid the price. They'll live in homes you prayed into existence. They'll know joy because you refused to let bitterness win. They'll speak boldly because you broke the silence. You are someone's answered prayer, and you are becoming the ancestor someone will thank God for. This is why it's taking longer. This is why shortcuts are closed to you. This is why God doesn't let you move like everybody else, because He's not building a moment with you. He's building a legacy through you. So when you feel tired, remember, you're not just showing up for yourself. You're showing up for the family you haven't met yet. You're showing up for the bloodline that didn't have your strength. You're showing up because your yes is setting people free you'll never even see. This is why quitting feels like relief, because the mission is weighty. But chosen one, you were built for this. The same God who entrusted you with this mantle is the same God who will empower you to carry it to completion. And one day, whether in this life or the next, someone will say, "Somebody in my family changed everything. Somebody said yes when it was hard. Somebody broke the pattern. And because of them, we're walking in freedom." That somebody is you. You're not just chosen to survive this chapter. You're chosen to change the entire story. Chapter 4. The silence isn't a sign to stop, it's a call to trust. Chosen one, let's be honest, silence can be scary, especially when you're used to hearing God speak, guide, confirm, and comfort, and then suddenly, nothing. No signs, no dreams, no open doors, just stillness. But hear this clearly. Heaven's silence is not heaven's absence. God didn't walk away, He's watching your walk. This isn't punishment. This isn't delay. This is a holy pause, an invitation to deeper trust. Sometimes God gives a word, and then He goes silent, not to confuse you, but to see you move, to see if you'll obey in the dark what you clapped for in the light, to see if you'll walk by faith and not by feelings. You're looking for a new instruction, but he's watching for old obedience. He already told you what to do. Now he's asking, will you keep building when it looks like nothing's changing? Will you keep praying when the heavens feel like brass? Will you keep sowing when there's no sign of a harvest? This is the part of the process that separates the crowd from the called. Because anyone can follow when the voice is loud and the sky is clear. But the chosen ones, they follow when it's quiet. They trust when there's no clarity. They walk when there's no map. They keep showing up when it feels like God went silent. Because they know he's still speaking, just in another frequency. Sometimes silence is how God strengthens your spiritual muscles. It teaches you that his presence isn't always loud, that direction isn't always dramatic, that the most powerful moments often happen in stillness. Remember Noah? God gave him a single instruction: build the ark. And for decades, heaven said nothing else. No updates, no reminders, just build. And Noah kept building. He trusted the last word, even when the world mocked him and the skies refused to rain. That's what you're doing too. You're building in a silence that will one day be broken by a divine release. You're walking by faith, not because you feel strong, but because you know the one who called you is still with you, even when he's quiet. So don't misread this season. The quiet isn't a closed door. The stillness isn't a stop sign. The silence isn't a sign of disapproval. It's a sacred test, and you're passing it every time you say, Lord, I don't feel you, but I trust you. This is the kind of trust that moves heaven. This is the kind of trust that brings breakthrough. This is the kind of trust that positions you for blessings too big to explain, because your faith didn't need evidence. So keep walking, chosen one. Keep showing up. Keep building, praying, obeying, even in the silence. Because what's quiet now will soon become the loudest testimony of your life. And when God speaks again, it won't just be a whisper, it'll be a release. Chapter 5. Your obedience is unlocking rooms you haven't entered yet. Chosen one, there are doors that open when you arrive. And then there are doors that open because you obeyed long before you ever saw them. Just because your surroundings haven't changed yet doesn't mean your future hasn't. Heaven doesn't operate on the applause of man or the visibility of progress. It operates on obedience, quiet, consistent, faithful obedience. Right now, in places you've never seen, people are being prepared to meet you. Conversations are being had about your name. Opportunities are being tailored to your gift. Strategies are being formed that include your voice, your vision, and your impact, all because God saw your yes in the secret place. You see stillness, but heaven sees motion. You feel stuck, but the Spirit sees alignment. Because your obedience is a spiritual key, and keys don't just jingle, they unlock. Every time you said yes to God, even when it cost you friends, platforms, comfort, or clarity, you were turning the key in a door you hadn't even walked up to yet. You were granting future access with present faithfulness. Some doors don't open with noise, they open with trust. They swing wide when your heart posture matches heaven's expectation. They open not just for your sake, but because there are people behind them who need what you carry. You're not just being obedient for yourself, you're being obedient for the generation behind you. Your yes is giving someone else permission to dream. Your persistence is unlocking funding, favor, and freedom, not just for you, but for everyone your calling will impact. Don't let the delay fool you. The release is already in motion. The reward is already scheduled. The shift is already prepared. But timing is sacred, and God doesn't release what's holy before its time. He's aligning your heart with the weight of the next season. He's molding your character to carry the blessing without breaking. He's teaching you to walk through open doors with humility, not entitlement. Because He doesn't just want you to enter the room, He wants you to stay in the room. And the staying power comes from obedience. Not hype, not shortcuts, not performance, but obedience. Obedience when it's lonely. Obedience when it doesn't make sense. Obedience when no one else sees the sacrifice you're making. God does, and He's using every act of faith, every silent tear, every unseen act of diligence to pave the way to something that will exceed your imagination. So don't give up because you haven't seen it yet. You don't have to see it to believe it. You just have to trust the one who promised it. Keep saying yes. Keep moving forward. Keep showing up, because the rooms are unlocking. The connections are aligning. And sooner than you think, your obedience will collide with your overflow. What's coming isn't random. It's reserved. And it's waiting on the arrival of someone who didn't quit when nothing was moving. That someone is you. Chapter 6. God is using this to make you unbreakable. Chosen one, let this sink in. This isn't just a delay. It's not just resistance. It's not even just spiritual warfare. This is divine construction. You are not being destroyed. You are being designed. God is taking His time with you, not because you're behind, but because your assignment is too sacred to rush. You thought you were being held back, but the truth is, God is building you brick by brick into something that hell can't shake, people can't fake, and pressure can't break. You thought it was about finishing a task, completing a chapter, checking off a spiritual to-do list. But it's bigger than that. It's deeper than that. It's eternal. God is not just developing what's in your hand, He's developing what's in your heart. Because before He releases the full weight of your calling, He has to remove the fear that will sabotage it, the pride that will ruin it, and the wounds that would have made you bleed on the people you're called to help. He's not just preparing the way for you, He's preparing the way in you. This is soul-deep work, invisible scaffolding, heavenly rewiring. And yes, it's painful. Yes, it's lonely. Yes, it feels like everyone else is getting blessed, while you're stuck waiting, wondering, wrestling in the dark. But darkness is where diamonds are formed. Isolation is where warriors are trained. And the wilderness? That's where prophets learn to hear God without distractions. You're not being punished, you're being processed. And the longer the process, the greater the power. Because God never builds small when He's planning something generational. This is spiritual boot camp. You're being taught how to endure, how to worship when it hurts, how to pray when it's quiet, how to walk by faith when sight betrays you, how to not fold under pressure. Even when no one sees how hard it really is, He's stripping away every dependency, every false source of identity, every crutch, every counterfeit comfort. So when He finally lifts you up, your foundation won't shake, because it won't be built on applause. It'll be built on alignment. The betrayal you experienced, that wasn't wasted. God used it to show you that loyalty from man is fragile, but His faithfulness is eternal. The delays you endured, they weren't wasted. God used them to stretch your patience, to force you to live by revelation, not reaction. The tears you cried in secret, they weren't wasted either. They watered the ground of your future territory. Every ounce of pain, is being converted into power. Every lonely night is turning into spiritual leverage. You're not behind. You're being forged for something others couldn't handle. This isn't about comfort. This is about capacity. God is expanding your shoulders for a mantle that's about to drop. And when it does, you'll realize why it had to hurt, why it had to take this long, why you couldn't take shortcuts. Because shortcuts create shallow roots. And you weren't called to be temporary. You were called to be timeless. This is your spiritual gym. Every weight you've carried was strengthening you. Every no you heard was making room for the yes that actually mattered. Every exit of people was God clearing the room for divine replacements. Don't resent the refining. Respect it, because the fire didn't come to burn you. It came to burn off what you couldn't carry forward. And after this fire, you won't just shine. You'll carry fire. Unbreakable fire. Relentless fire. Fire that disrupts darkness and ignites revival. You asked God to use you. You asked for purpose. You asked for power. You asked to be set apart. Now this is the part nobody talks about. The part where He prunes what can't stay. The part where He disciplines what's immature. The part where He humbles what's still holding on to pride. Not to hurt you, but to holify you. To make sure what's placed on you won't destroy what's inside you. Chosen one, this is not the end. This is the becoming. And when it's done, you won't come out weak, bitter, or resentful. You'll come out ready. Chapter 7. This mission will end in miracles, not in regret. Chosen one, listen closely. You didn't come this far to turn around. You didn't cry all those tears, fight all those silent battles, and carry all that unseen pain just to collapse before the crown is placed. This isn't the end of your story. This is the moment where everything starts making sense. God didn't bring you through the fire, through betrayal, through the nights of silence and the seasons of scarcity, just to leave you empty. There is glory coming from this. There are miracles being written into your timeline that will make every delay worth it. The mission may feel hard right now, but hard doesn't mean it's over. Hard means it's holy. Hard means you're in the middle of transformation, not the edge of failure. You've been stretched, you've been shaken, but you're still standing. And that alone is evidence that heaven has been holding you together. Every time you wanted to walk away and didn't, you were storing up breakthrough. Every time you worshipped with a heavy heart, you were watering seeds of your next season. Every time you chose faith over fear, you were building spiritual muscle you'll soon need to carry your miracle. Chosen one, don't let the enemy convince you that giving up is relief. It's robbery. It steals what God has already placed in motion. It delays the divine appointments waiting to collide with your obedience. Yes, the road has been long. Yes, the warfare has been intense. But this isn't punishment. It's preparation. The resistance you feel right now is not a stop sign. It's a signal that you're closer than ever. You are on the edge of divine reversal, on the edge of supernatural recompense, on the edge of a chapter that will make you forget the weight of the last one. This is not a moment to fold. This is a moment to fortify. Heaven is backing you. The anointing you carry cannot be revoked. The oil on your life wasn't given for decoration. It was given for warfare, for impact, for breakthrough. Don't you dare romanticize escape. Don't fantasize about quitting when you're standing at the gate of everything you prayed for. You didn't imagine this mission. God ordained it. And what God ordains, He also sustains. You may not feel strong right now, but grace is your strength. You may not see the outcome, but faith is your vision. You may not have applause, but heaven is already applauding your perseverance. God has not changed his mind about you. The mission is still active. The call is still loud. The miracle is still in motion. And when it's complete, when the dust settles and the doors swing open, you'll look back and realize every setback was a setup. Every detour was divine. And every time you almost gave up was actually a moment God gave you more strength.